All right, all right, all right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tuned Into Tennis. Oh wait, this is so much. It's so much better if I drop you down than bring you back in. I got to stop that. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tuned Into Tennis, the only tennis show where I give you colorful commentary in just the way that I can, give you the heat and the headlines, the history, the hot takes, all of that, especially before Wimbledon drops us into our third Grand Slam of the season in just a week or so. I'm your host, Miles David, and we're going to be talking about all of that today. We even have some Americans trending in the right direction on the tennis courts. We've got some classic women playing classic grass court tennis from the Czech Republic. And we even have some South American flair going on. We have a lot going on. We have Serena Williams officially playing singles again in women's tennis. It's just so many headlines coming thick and fast right before Wimbledon. And I actually have a special guest to help me comb through all of that today. A friend to the pod at this point, Mr. Win Davis, creator of LoveGame Tennis Club. He's out of the Bay Area. I think he has one of the most exciting tennis lifestyle brands and just minds about the worlds of tennis and culture. So I want to introduce him back to the pod today. Mr. Win, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, Miles. Good to be here. Thanks for having me back. It's been a minute since we've done this, but always love talking the game with you. And thanks for the kind words in your intro.
I appreciate it, man. We were on the other side of a pretty good weekend, I think, celebrating Juneteenth and Father's Day weekend, the beginning of summer. So, did you have a pretty good weekend?
Yeah, I had a great weekend. Nice and chill. Actually got out, I think 2 or 3 days out of the weekend, and got to hit some tennis balls. So was out on the court yesterday for about 2 hours. And feeling it today, but it was worth it.
I love that. I love the fact that, I mean, this may just be something I'm making up in my mind, but I do feel like the more I refresh on my social media feeds and just talk to people in general, people have a racket in their hands, and I need to get back on that wagon, similar to how I'm getting back on this mic wagon.
Yeah.
I gotta do the thing, you know? It's the healthiest sport in the world, they say. So
it is, absolutely.
We gotta get back on it.
Yeah, I always feel much better after I go out and hit for a couple hours. It's just some people it's running, some people it's lifting weights, and for a lot of us it's tennis. So
it's tennis, which is kind of a combination of a lot of cardio and strength and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
You gotta have endurance out there, especially in this heat. All right. Speaking of heat, let's talk a little bit. But actually, I was going to segue into like what's going on. But first, I want to let people know what you have going on at LoveGame. For those who may not be aware, let people know where your neck of the woods is in the interwebs of tennis and what you have going on with your platform.
Yeah, thanks. LoveGame Tennis Club basically is it started as a blog. It's my sort of platform to give my point of view and perspectives around things that are going on in and around the game. So some storytelling, some of it from a first person personal standpoint point of view. So it's very much opinion based in some regards. But it started as a blog, but we also do it blends the writing and photography and music across those three different mediums, and to do some storytelling around the game. Like I said, there's a lot that goes on clearly with the tours, but for all of us that know and love the game, there's a lot that happens adjacent to the game, and there's tons of stories that are to be told outside of the tours respectively. So the brand itself is focused on trying to find some of those stories and do some storytelling, and hopefully create some new lanes for some new audiences to become familiar with the sport and to grow the sport.
And keep it cool and make it even cooler. That's the vibe.
That's right.
LoveGame has a very swaggy, kind of cool, effortlessly vibe to it. I appreciate that.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Hopefully our conversation is similar.
We might go a little sideways, but
we might. It'll probably be my fault. It'll be my fault. Especially since I'm rocking the ball today. Everybody doesn't see that every day. I feel like when I'm rocking the baldy, sometimes the thoughts tend to just go woo woo because I don't have a hat keeping it all together.
They can escape easier, right?
Okay, the first thing I want to let ourselves just kind of talk and escape on, if you will, is the trending topic right now in tennis, which even at 44 years old and it being 2026, we're still putting Serena at the top of our show, of our run of shows, of our timelines, Serena Williams is still happening, and Wimbledon has officially announced that she not only is going to get a doubles wild card, she's going to get a singles wild card as well to play singles for the first time since 2022. And Wimbledon released on their Instagram that it's not a drill. Serena Williams is back, and apparently that is true, my friend. What were your thoughts when you kind of digested that information, even though we knew it wasn't necessarily out of left field because Wimbledon had intentionally left a spot open for one last women's singles wild card? So,
Yeah, I mean, I think for those of us that are close to the game, we kind of saw this a mile away ever since, even from the early rumblings of her working out and being, sending some cryptic messages on Instagram and things of that nature. We all kind of suspected that when she, re-entered the drug protocol, the testing protocol, we knew something big was going to happen. And so I think this is all just sort of the culmination of all of that news and all of that slow drip that's been happening over the course of the last 6 months.
Drip. Or so. I know that's right.
Yeah. And so, and I'm not surprised that that Wimbledon, left that spot for her. I mean, at the end of the day, it's Serena Williams. The fact is that we're sitting here talking about her and we're not the only ones, right? It's news all across the sports world for that matter. Right. So, and I kind of, personally, I understand all the different, sides of the coin, right? There's people that are, she's taking a spot away from somebody who needs it more. And, and on the flip side, Serena Williams wants to play tennis. So you got to let Serena Williams play tennis as well. So I understand that there's two sides to the coin. I think the bigger thing that stands out for me is that, a lot of us talk about about tennis having a marketing issue sometimes, right? And how the sport could be marketed better. And it doesn't get any better or bigger than marketing Serena Williams as one of your comeback players at one of the biggest tournaments of the year. So, kudos to Wimbledon for making it happen. And yeah, it's big news no matter how you slice it.
Some of the key facts here before I go on, I guess, my tangent on some things that have gotten me a little hot at the Twitter fingers already today. Some of the key facts is that Serena is 44. She's ranked 593 in doubles. She has no singles ranking, meaning due to this wild card, she could face anybody from the number 1 seed all the way down to the 32nd seed or wherever they fall in the draw. So that means Sabalenka, Swiatek, even Coco Gauff, Osaka, all of those players are liable to show up in Serena's draw or their draw, no matter how you look at that. So she'll be doing that while also playing doubles with Venus at Wimbledon. She kind of left some dripping of the psyche of Serena Williams right now, if you will, quotes at Queen. She said, "I don't need to win. I won more than most people have in their whole life. I don't have anything to prove. I don't have anything to lose. And everything here is just to gain," which is all nice. Very almost like mom of the year talk.
Right. It's very political.
It's politically correct, but I also, I know Serena because I've watched so much of her play. She's going to be competitive out there. She showed that she's competitive out there, even though she's lost those 2 doubles matches. The competitiveness was still there. It was still very present. You can see that very evidently when she takes to the court. She takes it seriously. So I know she's going to want to compete. I also, sorry, I'm looking like, who's that behind me? I also think that she is kind of right in the fact that she's just taking a swing at it. I don't think she's thinking Grand Slam victories. I think she has how do I put this? I think she has kind of a factory reset in her body or something. Something happens when she's in competitive mode that switches that on. And then when she's not in competitive mode, she can kind of go to the big picture of it. And maybe that is what she was kind of, I don't want to say looking for or lacking in the latter part of her career, was the balance between knowing that everything is just to gain and that my legacy is solidified already. So I'm just out there having fun, and then actually competing on the day and not letting all that stuff get into your head while you're trying to compete. Yeah. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm thinking about all this with Serena. It's crazy because I really thought that she wouldn't come back, and here she is back again. And we're back in the spoils of Serena thinking about what could happen before she even swings her racket. But I'm going to try to take it from the perspective of Serena's just out there doing her best, and she misses competing, and she does want to compete in front of her children. So let her be, I guess.
Yeah.
Let her be.
I've got two additional thoughts on that. One is that, it's interesting that she didn't play, and I here's my sort of theory as to why, right? Is that she didn't play any lead up tournaments in a singles capacity, because I think that sure would have been interesting to have that level of a litmus test around sort of where's her game at in comparison to sort of where the game has moved on. But to do that at a Grand Slam, that is sort of the ultimate litmus test, where it's like, well, yeah, of course you're going to get the best players in the world playing their best at one of the biggest tournaments in the world. So it's sort of, I don't want to say it maybe the right sort of phrase is that it eases the expectations a little bit, is that, yep, I'm just going to go out there, see how it goes. And I'm going to do it at a Grand Slam where I expect the competition to be big and strong, and versus, running that risk at a 250 or a 500 where it might sort of say more about where her game is. So I think that's one thing. I think the other thing to that is, what if she is able to pick up or get back to what prime Serena looks like? Sure, that tricky to do in this environment, but what if she does get to that 24th slam title? Like, what does that mean in the history books? It's something that I think she may not be talking about, but I definitely think, knowing Serena, she's got her eye on that prize. If her tennis is where she thinks it is coming out of Wimbledon, we'll see.
My mind and my noggin cannot comprehend the idea of Serena Williams lifting another Grand Slam title.
Agreed.
I can't. Not that I don't want to see it happen, but it sounds so absurd in my head.
Agreed.
Given all that we have known about her career and the pragmaticness of it all, like the likeliness of it all.
Right.
But man, it'd be fun to follow. Wouldn't it be fun?
It sounds absurd. It sounds absurd to us, but it's not absurd to her, and that's the only person that it really matters. So.
Is she the only person in the history of tennis that feels like, if I'm going to judge myself, it's going to be at a slam? Like, my litmus test is going to be against the best of the best, and I feel like that's a testament to how she backs herself, which is incredible.
Absolutely.
And to still kind of have that mentality at 44.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the kind of athlete. And I think the impact, and I've said this on other shows before already, that, Serena Williams has a crazy amount of impact, which I think she does. But I also think that people are a little bit, I don't want to use the word envious, but I do feel like some people are scathing. I can't find the word, but there's a tone and texture to the way that people put out their critiques on Serena Williams. Yeah. And I don't mean to be like, I don't feel like I operate with Serena with like a wooden spoon or anything like that. Like, I feel like I can see the good and the bad of things that she's been involved in, but that doesn't make it any different from when I feel like she's getting unnecessary criticism that people in the same situation would not get. And the people making it seem like she is way past her prime and taking up a space from somebody else, or doing this all to promote some weight loss brand or injection or what have you. I just don't think the tone and texture of it being such a vitriolic, we don't need this and this is all a gimmick, would be the same if Roger Federer said he was coming back to play a couple matches at Wimbledon, or if Rafa said he was coming back to play a couple matches at Roland Garros.
I had the same thoughts. I had the same thoughts, and you're right. And most of that vitriol is it's the people saying it. That's their stuff. It's Serena's stuff. It's that feeling that they're putting onto her, but that's their stuff, and I don't think that really bothers her.
Well, I was bothered, and I'll put this up on the Jumbotron. I was bothered by Mr. Craig Shapiro, who apparently has his ins and outs in the tennis space. I think he's worked with Andre Agassi in the past, has his own podcast. Kudos to him. But he put out on X, formerly known as Twitter, some takes that I thought were just a little bit less than sweet. He said, and I quote, "Wild to accept a wild card into a major after being long retired over the hill without playing one tournament in many years, in my opinion. Feels like a stunt. One of these boxing matches featuring Jake Paul or Mike Tyson for that matter. Surprised Wimbledon involved themselves in this." Okay. He went on He also said, journalists writing how exciting this is, I couldn't disagree more. It seems like an indictment of women's tennis. That's the level. It feels like an indictment of women's tennis that the level is so bad. A one-time great player that last won a pro match 8 years ago would return at the most important tournament without even playing a warm-up. Maybe he didn't say it in the tone that I read it, but it felt pointed, especially those words about being a one-time great player, long retired, 8 years ago, which is factually incorrect. She didn't retire 8 years ago. She played, like, I know your perception of time might be a little off. You're getting up there. Things may be a little woozy. But she retired and played her last singles match in 2022, which is almost 4 years to the day, if I do my math correctly. So got to work on that. But I think that's just that's overly critical for someone that has brought tennis the things that it has brought. And I do think people are still gripey about the fact that Serena Williams, this unambiguously Black woman who has not shied away from controversy, so to speak, has spoken her mind on many times, has made such a lasting impact in the sport, is still this impactful. They kind of want to see her just go away and let somebody else start to catch up with her, which is why they're always throwing Margaret Court, that whole thing to kind of just put somebody in front of her so it can't be Serena Williams and Serena Williams alone that is the best women's tennis player. It's soaked in all of that, the commentary that people have, and it's so ugly, but whatever.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. She is the pinnacle. She is the conversation, especially with regards to the modern game. I mean, yeah, you could throw Margaret Court in there, but Margaret Court
you?
Yeah, well, you can have that conversation, but she was beating ping pong players and stuff like that in her day. So it's like, it's just not an apples to apples comparison. And yeah, if you're, it's don't have the beef with Serena. I mean, this is a decision that Wimbledon made, right? And so if they're okay with it, then hey, they did that for a reason. The rest of us should be okay with it too.
And they're making money. I know I have a gripe with the fact that we live in a capitalist society, right? Like everything has to go down to the dollar. But I do understand that business has to be made, so there has to be some kind of profit, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's such an easy way to get profit if you put Serena Williams on your ticket. What do you mean?
Yeah. And we were talking about sort of the marketing aspect of it. I mean, imagine, imagine blockbuster television if she does get Sabalenka or Osaka or Coco Gauff or any of those players. Don't speak that into existence.
Well, I can't comprehend.
Well, but we know, we know how these draws work, right?
Can I get a Nick Conte? Can I get you know who I think would be a good fit? Can I say? Do I want to? Because I feel like tennis gods and me sometimes are linked. I wouldn't be mad at seeing her and Anisimova play. I feel like that's a perfect amount of just hit ball. That'll be a good litmus test for Serena, because what I don't want to see is her going sideline to sideline with somebody like Andreeva. The players that really brought it to her in her last sector of her career were of those ilk, hang out there, play an extra ball, all of that kind of stuff. So
yeah, if she ends up with a a top 20 player, top 30, 40
Paulini?
Player, even a Paulini, right? It doesn't really matter at this point. The reality is that no matter who she faces in the first round, and
it's going to be a problem,
right? And from the marketing, and to your point about the capitalistic aspect of it, let's say she gets another qualifier. Let's say she gets a qualifier in the first round. She wins that match handily. All of a sudden, you get her in a second round where she might face
a seed or something.
A seed, right? Somebody who's more formidable. All of a sudden now and not that the draws are fixed or anything like that, but the extension of how long she's in the tournament also maximizes the amount of money that they get from that. So
it's easy.
It's easy, right? Yeah. And so it's just either way, it's just for the tournament who's trying to make money, it's win-win no matter how you draw it up. So
it's a win-win, and I'm all for it as long as health is on her side. And
That's right.
She is happy and healthy, and it is positively impacting her. She has contributed a lot to tennis and sport as a whole. So if she wants to go out there and feel safe enough and confident enough and passionate enough to do so, by all means, let her do it. Because if it was anybody else, there'd be open parades. Okay, let us parade Serena.
Yeah,
she is the GOAT for a reason.
For however long it lasts.
For however long she wants to do it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to some more grass court news, but maybe a different style of a different style of parade should be happening for this guy. We're talking about the ATP 500 in Halle, Germany, which has traditionally been a very successful stop for grass court players leading up to Wimbledon over the years. And we have somebody new to add to the history books of that tournament, Mr. Frances Tiafoe. Frances Tiafoe took out Taylor Fritz 6-4, 6-4 in the final of Halle, bringing him his largest title on tour, his first title since 2023, and his first win over Taylor Fritz since 2016, I believe. So a lot was accomplished in that victory. I feel like I haven't talked about Frances Tiafoe legitimately in the winner's circle in quite a minute. So we should sit here and talk about it. What do you feel when I say all of that stuff about Frances Tiafoe?
No, I'm with you 100%. I think, I know for a fact in one of our previous podcasts, we were talking about Frances, and I think it might have been when he and Ben Shelton met, I want to say in the Houston final a couple of years ago. And you made a comment, we're rooting for Frances, and you said something along the lines of, but you need some more trophies in that cabinet, my guy. and I'll never forget that. And I'm like, finally, yesterday when that's why I texted you the minute he won that match. I was like, hey, he finally got that trophy. It's been a minute. And it was a big one, right? I think he had 3 250s to his credit. So getting sort of leveling up to the 500. And look, we all know what Frances is capable of on the tennis court. He's shown us that over the last 5 years. And it's just a matter of him, maybe staying locked in. I know that there's been some changes to his fitness regimen, I should say. And so he's doing all the right things off the court, and it's starting to show up in his results. And we couldn't be happy for him. I know that there's been moments where we start to question, is he going to fall off, and then he'll come back and win a great match. And so we know that tennis has always been there, has always been in him. And so it's just good to see it with this level of consistency. And that was a huge win for him last weekend. And so couldn't be happier for him.
It was a big moment for my guy to see him lifting a trophy. That felt big, I was going to try to not get too excited about it, but I'll be happy for my guy. It really is a testament to what he feels like is the grind he's been on, I don't want this to be, though. I think this is, I feel, how do I put this? I see so much for Frances, and especially when I look at the landscape of men's tennis right now, as we speak, going into Wimbledon. I love that he's having this momentum. I just know that I don't want to say I've seen this story before, but I've gone into big tournaments with momentum. He's won a couple matches. I've been like, oh, we're on the precipice of something big here, and something big here doesn't happen. So I'm just kind of taking it step by step. But I do fully see and admit that having a 500 in your cabinet, finally getting a win over Fritz, finally getting something bigger than a 250, that means something, and it feels like the gears are starting to turn in the right direction, hopefully, and
it could also just be a big sort of mental load off, right? A lot of these players, they go so long without winning, it's just such a grind. So I think the mental load of that, it might put him in a different headspace. And I like the confidence and the momentum that he's going to have, especially having this week off and being able to sort of rest up and sort of reset heading into Wimbledon. I think I've got big expectations for him. I think he's going to play well.
I hope he can lock in. I think that there's a Frances that allows the moment to energize him in a great way, and the crowd to energize him and all that stuff. But I also think there's a Frances that can kind of let some of that just scoop him off course a little bit. Not maybe distract him, but just it's a extra element in his mind, the what ifs of it all, the impacts of this, what this could be for me and people that look like me, all that stuff I'm sure goes through his head. But if he's locked in and thinking about just the tennis and the X's and O's, the strategy of it to beat an opponent, I think he's dangerous, especially on grass. Like
Yeah.
he is athletic enough to get from corner to corner. There's enough power on his shots. If he's getting his first serve in, he can dictate. Like all of those things put together yield for a good grass court campaign if you are locked in the way we need Francis to be, you know?
Yeah, and agree. I think his serve, he served excellent last week, all week, and even in the final. And so I think that's a huge part of taking that pressure off and making his game, sort of making the game come to him a lot easier. So if he can keep that up, I think I like his chances at Wimbledon.
Do you like the runner-up chance, or do you like the runners-up chance? Taylor Fritz, he got his second finalist trophy in 2 weeks, losing to Francis and Halle. How do you feel about Fritz going into that?
Yeah, I think we had a quick conversation about this, but I mean, I think the American men are riding a nice little wave heading into Wimbledon. Not just Francis, but Taylor. Again, to your point, making 2 finals in the last couple of weeks. Tommy Paul's playing well. Ben Shelton won in Stuttgart last week as well. So those 4 guys, considering where the men's field is right now, we'll have to see sort of how Sinner's playing when he gets there. Djokovic, we know we can never count him out. And Zverev's in that mix as well. But I like where the American men are at. I mean, we've got 4 guys that are capable of beating any of those 3 players on any given day as well. And so I think I like everybody's chances, and it's good to at least see all of them playing well at the same time heading into such a big event.
That's a very politically correct answer, my friend. I'm not mad at it. But what about Fritz? I want to know, do you think Fritz who for the first time, I feel like since he's been on the radar, has taken a large chunk of time in tennis to not play? Like he didn't play at all in the clay court lead-ups, and then he got to Roland Garros, lost first round, and pretty much went straight to the grass. So his last couple of 3 or 4 months have looked interesting. But I still don't know if I look at Fritz and see a Grand Slam champion. I don't know. I feel like I see a guy that's really good at timing the ball on grass and has a great serve, can get out wide. He's a good enough mover out of the corner. It's not like he's bad at it. And he has the number of some players in front of him, like Zverev. Like there's players around him that he can play well against, especially on grass. I just don't know if I see him put the Grand Slam trophy in his hand. I don't know.
I hear you on that, but I think my thing with Taylor Fritz is every time I start to not necessarily write him off, but every time I don't think about putting him in a certain mix, he always surprises me, right? I never expected him to make a final at the US Open, or I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I never expected it, but he surprised me, right? He plays great tennis, when I don't always expect him to, and I know what he's capable of now. So I wouldn't write him off. And especially you bring up a really good point in the fact that he's got Zverev's number. So that's, that's one more guy that's in this mix between Sinner, Djokovic, and Zverev, who I've got to sort of put as the top 3 guns going into Wimbledon. Hey, that gives, Taylor Fritz some room to navigate through that draw, being able to, kind of have the confidence that he can beat a guy like Zverev. So at this point, I'm not writing him off anymore. I think that he could win a Grand Slam the same way that I wasn't sure if Zverev would ever win one. I kind of feel the same way about Taylor Fritz. I feel like he definitely can win one.
If the draw falls apart at Wimbledon, I hate that you have to like go straight to Wimbledon in this grass court season, but it's so quick. You kind of just have to look at the next major. There's no like 1,000 on grass like there should be. There's no Monte Carlo, Madrid to kind of like ease your way into the surface. You got to go big picture, or you got to look at it. But anyway, if you look at the way the French Open draw kind of fell apart, decimated itself, and Taylor Fritz and Francis Tiafoe are still in the draw at Wimbledon, who do you think has a better shot of lifting that trophy, Francis Tiafoe or Taylor Fritz? In a hypothetical semifinal final that they both find themselves in, or what have you, who is more likely to get that job done? Based off what you've seen this grass course.
Going head to head?
No, not head to head. Who's more likely to win, Francis or Fritz?
I would give Francis a slight advantage because of his versatility in his overall game his movement on the surface, I would imagine or think, is probably a little bit better than Fritz's. And I think if Francis serves the way he's been serving, then that sort of offsets, the serve element of their games will sort of offset. So I give Francis a slight edge with how dynamic his game can be on grass and his movement.
I hate that I put that question out there. Now I have to answer it because while you were saying such good points, I was like, oh, wait, I think I do give Fritz the edge a little bit more. I think just because over the course, and I forgot who the commentator was that said it in his match against Fritz, despite how good Francis can play and how locked in he can be, his game, because he has such versatility and kind of plays a little bit more of a high-risk game than other players, he doesn't have the overwhelming amount of topspin to kind of just conveniently stay in rallies the same way,
Right.
I think that puts him at a higher risk of going through like a rough patch, if you will, in a best-of-5 match. Whereas Taylor Fritz, you kind of know what kind of ball you're going to get rally in, rally out from Taylor Fritz. And it's a good ball, and he can reproduce it a lot more efficiently, repetitiously. Is that the right word?
Repetitively.
He repetitively. There we go. Thank you. See, I knew somebody on my side. He can reproduce that just whenever he wants to, and I feel like that's what we saw Zverev do to get his slam. Kind of just do what he does and wait for everybody to kind of womp womp.
I think the key to players like that, and I agree with what you're saying about the types of balls that they hit and sort of stay in their course. I think as long as those players don't run up against players that have more versatility, because they're rhythm players. So if they can stay in their rhythm, then their results will speak for themselves. But when you run up against the players that have a little bit more versatility that can take them out of their rhythm, then you might be able to create some problems for them, especially on this surface. So
the rhythm of it all. We'll see who has rhythm. Who has the most rhythm after Wimbledon between Fritz and Tiafoe. Let's keep it going with the American men here. Although this young chap didn't get the Champions Trophy, he did get the runners-up trophy. And I'm speaking about Mr. Tommy Paul. Yep. He was beat by Francisco Cerundolo in the ATP 500 Queens Club event in London. Cerundolo beat Tommy Paul 6-7, 6-4, 6-3 in a little over 3 hours, which is the longest final in Queens history. And that tournament's going on for a long time. So 3 hours on grass is a bit of a battle. But that's the second time in as many trips to Queens that Tommy Paul has made the final. So although he came up short against Cerundolo, since we're sticking with the American men, how did you feel about Tommy Paul, or how do you feel about Tommy Paul on grass this year, given what you saw at Queens Club?
Yeah, Tommy Paul's one of these guys I also wish could just get over the hump, because I actually love his game. I love everything about the way he plays. And I think there's just, I'm not sure how he comes up short sometimes, because there's definitely some big matches that I feel like he should have won over the course of the time that I've been watching him play. And I think he could have beat Cerundolo the other day. But, but I still, again, we going back to the American men, he's always super solid. I love the way that he plays. I think he's consistent. And I'm not sure where the hurdles are and where he comes up against them. I don't think it's mental. I think he's, it seems like he's pretty solid mentally as well. I just wish I could see him get over the hump in one of these bigger tournaments. But I don't think I wouldn't, again, I put him in the same conversation when we're talking about the American men. I think you take the four of those guys and they could all beat each other on any given day. So I don't know if I stack rake them, the separation of stack raking Shelton, Fritz, Tiafoe, and Tommy Paul. There's not a lot of there's not a lot in between when I rank those guys.
So you're saying you're going to take the American flag at this year's Wimbledon based on what we've seen on the grass so far?
I'm not saying that. I'm not.
If it was the Americans versus the field,
I'm not gonna go so far as to say that one of them will win Wimbledon, but I will say that the four of them all have a really good chance of going deep in the tournament.
I hope this gets to them.
We've got four guys on the American side that can make really, really deep runs at Wimbledon. All four of them, I believe, can make deep runs.
Francis, Ben, Taylor,
and Tommy.
Oh, yeah. If you're listening, it's time to put on your Power Ranger suits and get it done. Okay.
I mean, this is the highest level. This is the highest level of confidence and consistency that I've seen from all four of them at one time. I guess that's maybe the best way for me to.
They've all made a final on grass in the last 2 weeks. When was the last time that happened? That American man was in the final of a grass court event, every week leading up to Wimbledon.
Right.
Oh man. But yeah, I think Tommy Paul has the goods on grass, especially because he's so good on his feet. His feet feel like they're not moving. He just feels so light out there. Sometimes a little too light, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Sometimes I do. Wimbledon grass and grass in general doesn't really want you to plant the same way you would plant on hard and clay. But sometimes I do feel like he could just put a little extra in his shots. Sometimes it's a little too whippy and airy the way the ball comes off of his racket. But he has the legs to make up for it. Absolutely. Even if he doesn't put away a forehand in that one swipe, like maybe a Tiafoe or a Fritz would do, he still might win the point because he's just has great legs and great hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's an interesting watch, especially on grass, to see him kind of maneuver throughout the whole thing. But
definitely,
we'll see.
Definitely.
I mean, and we have to give credit to who we lost to. We were talking about Francisco Cerundolo being, also a 500 champion on grass, and he said as much when he got the trophy. He was like, "I never thought I'd be winning this," which I feel like is a little insight into his psyche as a competitor.
Yeah.
Which, good or bad, it may help him balance. I kind of want my athletes that I root for to kind of be like, "Yeah, I won this. Like I wanted this. I saw this. I'm reaching my dreams." I don't know. I like a little bit of that, but I do think that this is a great point in his career. He's the first Argentinian man to win Queens. There's not that many Argentinian men in the past 3 decades that have won grass court titles, period. Yeah. And he's another representation of what I feel like I want to see in men's tennis and tennis in general, which is more South American flair.
Yeah,
I think there is South American flair in the world. I feel like it is such an amazing atmosphere and just energy that Hispanic people and Latino people bring to everything. Yeah. And tennis is no different. Like, even in that match, you wouldn't think that he would be getting such a raucous crowd against an American in London, but he did. Like, the South Americans and the Argentinians, the flags were out there and they were giving him the vibes to kind of push him through. And he won the biggest out of his career.
Yeah, it's been a big month for the Cerundolo boys, right? Because I think he had a
good checks coming into the household.
Yeah, he had a brother that made some noise at the French Open as well. So I think the other interesting thing you talk about the culture and sort of the fan experience and energy from Latin America. We see that also clearly with the Brazilians with Fonseca as well. Sort of so. Like you said, the energy that's there is something that I think the sport can really tap into. And I think something, interestingly enough, as we're talking about it right now, I think, an hour or so ago, Leo Messi scored a goal in World Cup and became the World Cup's leading goal scorer. So again, sort of this this culmination of energy around World Cup and what's going on with Argentina being the defending champs and Cerundolo, overall, hopefully some of that spillover and some of that energy and the weight and importance of what Cerundolo did will sort of also help build the sport and grow the sport, not just in Argentina, but across Latin America. So definitely not mad at the outcome.
I'm glad you mentioned the World Cup, because although I think I know who Lionel Messi is, that his name?
Yeah.
Lionel Messi?
Yeah, I've called him Leo Messi. Lionel.
Is it Lionel?
Yes, Lionel.
Like Lionel Richie?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, and his last name is Messi, right? Messi, right?
Yes, correct.
I'm sure somebody's listening to this like, Miles, how do you not know who that man is? Soccer has just never gelled the same way. But I do think that there is lovely crossover between soccer and tennis that I actually would like to see tapped into more. And I think certain people are doing it in like the actual associations, because I've seen very kind of fun soccer themed Q&A stuff from behind the scenes on the ATP or WTA tour. But I do think if you are a person that really enjoys your culture and representing your nation, where you come from, where your people come from, and representing that to the fullest, which I feel like a lot of people do. Tennis is fun for that too, just as well as it is for soccer. And Latin America shows that, because I mean, isn't soccer football? Isn't that the most popular sport in most of South America? In the world, right?
In the world, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think tennis is, if I'm not mistaken, tennis is third. I don't know what second is, but I think tennis is the most.
It doesn't feel like it. Sometimes.
It doesn't feel like, but it's the third most played sport globally, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm pretty sure football is number one.
Go soccer. After we finish up this, I'm going to ask you some questions on how I can pay attention to the World Cup, because I think that there's some crossover. Like, say you're at the World Cup, say you're at the World Cup bar, right? Or if there's a thing, isn't it like all over the States for the next couple of days?
Yeah, all over the Americas. So it's
the Americas, right?
Canada, United States, and Latin America.
Say you're at the bar, right? And with Wimbledon coming up, I'm sure ESPN is going to be showing some of this.
Yes. No, it's all on Fox, Fox, if I'm not mistaken.
That sucks. Fox has everything. There's no ESPN, sure. ABC.
Everything I've seen has been on FS1.
Womp. Well, okay, say your bar still has access to ESPN and you are either thrilled or just disgruntled that your country has lost in the World Cup. You can do a quick Google and see what country women or men from that same country are participating at Wimbledon. And you can like kind of follow their story. There's some Argentinian women that are going to be playing main draw of Wimbledon. Argentinian men, Francisco Cerundolo, his brother Juan Manuel, Thomas Martin Echeverry, Sebastian Baez. There's another guy, Tarante, I believe his last name is. There's actually quite a few that are going to be straight in up to Wimbledon, like main draw, don't have to qualify, all of that stuff. And that could be like your next global icon. Isn't Messi a global icon?
Absolutely.
So yeah, you never know. Like if you follow it and you pursue it and you like provide energy and resources to it and manifest it, who knows which one of those guys could maybe come up as the next Grand Slam champion or like big threat to world number one or anything like that from Argentina. I think that'd be dope. And the same goes for any other country. Like,
yeah, I think it plays well into the conversations that we have about tennis with people we talk to every day, right? I go to work and everybody I work with now knows that if you want to talk to Wendell, talk to him about tennis, he'll tell you anything you need to know, or at least as much as I
do. Your coworkers call you Win?
A couple. Okay. A couple. Sometimes it sounds right, sometimes it doesn't. So
can I call you Win?
Absolutely. My friends eventually, over time, my friends just will start saying Win. Like they're like, oh, and it flows really naturally. There's a coworker or two that when they say it, I'm like, it doesn't quite sound right. You're not there yet, but my point was I also work with people from different countries, and so like I've got a couple of people that live in Colombia, and so I think a couple of years ago, like Camila Osorio won Bogota. She's won it, I don't know, 2 or 3 times. Yeah. And so I'm like, hey, like, have you guys ever heard of Camila Osorio? Is she like a national treasure? And they're like, no, like, who's that? And I'm like, oh, she's a tennis player. She's Colombian, just won this. So I'm always like trying to your point, like make those connections with people to say, hey, there's a tennis player from Argentina, from Colombia, that, again, it sort of speaks to the opportunity that the game has to elevate some of these players, not just in the United States, but across all of the countries that participate. And you see some smaller countries, like you look at what's happening with Alex Ayala and Zeynep Sonmez, right? Like Turkey and Philippines are riding hard for these two young women wherever they go. Like wherever they show up, there's flags fly. And so I love to see that. And I think there's so much more opportunity to grow that for all of the other players that represent all these other countries around the globe.
What are the other countries that are kind of like big dogs, if you will, at World Cup that also might be playing at Wimbledon or tennis in general?
Definitely Argentina, we talked about, Spain.
Okay.
Spain, Portugal.
Okay.
France.
Okay.
Germany's always sort of in the mix, but maybe less or so this year. The UK.
I'm thinking of all of the people that are in those countries.
All those countries. Absolutely.
If you're riding for France, you got to put your hands together and pray that Arthur Feast comes back with some kind of some kind of, I didn't mean to put a downer on things, but I saw a picture of him and I was like, where are you?
Yeah.
Like, get back on the court.
Yeah. I do like the fact that he's being patient with whatever's going on with his body. Yeah, because he did. Well, I mean, he did say, he's like, hey, I've got 10 more years to do this.
All right.
So why?
He's not wrong. He's really not wrong. But it's frustrating because I'm like,
yeah,
you could be winning right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, if you're a France person, Arthur Fils, Hugo Humbert, who's actually, I haven't talked about him on this podcast in maybe, if ever, I don't know. But Hugo Humbert is tricky, lefty, kind of rangy. Who else is from France? Giovanni Pesci Perry-Card.
Yeah.
He's going to be a handful on grass, regardless of who plays him.
Yeah.
But they probably are going to beat him, unfortunately.
Yeah.
He just hasn't really gotten his game together outside of the serve to be impactful.
I do think that surface is the surface that if his game does evolve, like I think grass will be the surface that he does really, really well on.
Yeah, right now he's like the French Ivo Karlovic. You don't want to see him, but you probably can win 3 sets, you know?
Right. If you can get past his serve, if you could find a way to get a few serves in, returned, you got a shot. So.
And then there's Germany, but I mean, unless you're listening to this and you're like, oh, go Germany and go Alexander Zverev, which no shade if you are, I guess.
Yeah.
What about the Czech Republic? Because that's going to be all up and through the women's draw from here until forever. Are there Czech soccer?
There is this. The Czechia team is playing in World Cup as well. I'm not sure I don't know how good they are, but they're definitely they definitely made the draw or made the field this year. Yeah.
Well, if the Czech soccer team goes out, the Czech football team goes out early, definitely fly your flag over to London, because I think the Czech women are rounding into form, as they always do.
They always do
on grass. Even if they don't come in with form, a Czech woman on grass is always going to be a problem. And the
somebody's bound to do well.
The women's books reflect this, right? So I mentioned Czech because we have 2 Czech champions on the women's tour to talk about. We have 21-year-old Linda Noskova, who won her second career title over Jessica Pegula at the Berlin Open, a WTA 500. That was her first ever grass court title. With the title, she'll be making her top 10 debut. And I think she becomes the new Czech women's world #1, surpassing Karolina Muchova. And she's having a moment. I watched her semifinal win over Halle in the final, which was so rain-soaked. The final was against Pegula, but she got out there and imposed her game and is lifting the biggest trophy of her career. The last title she won was a 500, but I feel like it was one of those week before the U.S. Open tournaments that was a little bit, didn't quite feel like a 500, not the 500 shame or 250 shame, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But this is her second career title, and she is right. She's right there riding the wave with her sisters before her.
And she's got a strong, solid game too. I mean, I can't really find too many weaknesses. I mean, she's just a rock solid player, and I think maybe after sort of Pegula going through and beating Sabalenka, I'm not sure if maybe she ran out of mental gas against Noskova. She did sort of get off to a slow start in the third set. And Noskova was able to just take that momentum and sort of ride the wave through the third set and capture that title. So great to see Jessie play well. And again, Noskova is somebody that, again, we talk about the depth in the women's game and even a top player like Sabalenka. And we've seen Swiatek have some struggles as well. Like it's still, the breadth
come at you thick and fast.
The breadth of the women's game. If you're top 50, you've got a shot any given week, and I think that's just kind of the reality of it. And now all of a sudden, Noskova finds herself, like you said, as the #1 Czech player in the world, and so. You gotta, there's somebody that we got to start talking about again.
Yeah, I mean, she's one of those players similar to, again, this is kind of a common theme in Czech women's tennis. Think of Pliskova, think of Kvitova, think of players that have won big titles that you didn't always necessarily see coming. But when you think about it, you're like, oh wait, they've won big, and it's been on grass a lot of time. Obviously, Kvitova, a 2-time champion, Pliskova's a runner-up and won other big titles on grass. Barbora Krejcikova, Vondrousova. I pause when I say Vondrousova because we'll talk about her in a second. But yes, all four of those women have won Wimbledon in the last decade and plus. So Noskova is somebody that I would kind of look at closely when I'm drawing up my predictions for Wimbledon. However, and I don't want to take anything away from her win because I actually am very impressed by her win and her septum piercing that I did not know she had.
I was going to say that must be new because I just noticed it too.
I feel like I know when the tennis players, not in a creepy way, but I feel like I know if they have piercings and tattoos and stuff. And I didn't think that she did, so I love the fact that she has a septum piercing. I hope it's real. Linda, if you're watching this, can you let us know if it's real? I think it looked real to me. But either way, it's pretty badass. I like it. Anyway, I appreciate how she plays. And then also, I think it is a kind of interesting little haunting record that she's put herself in now because of the win. Yeah. There hasn't been a woman to win a grass court lead-up tournament and then also win Wimbledon in quite a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 years plus.
Yeah.
I think maybe I don't want to like be fact checked on this, but I think Sharapova might have been like the last person. I think, but it's been some time, and history in tennis, especially at Wimbledon, is kind of always weaved into the results. Have you ever noticed that, like history in tennis and just like what it means in the bigger picture, beside of just like this kind of the sports in general? But there's always like a theme or a thing to go along with just like the wins of who won,
Right.
At least that's how I look at it as a commentator and I guess talker about tennis.
There's always a footnote of
there's always a story. There's always a story. Wait, I think I told you this earlier. There's this theory I have, right, about, and it's the whole Czech thing made me think about this too. There's a theory I have about Wimbledon winners. Over the last couple of years, I've noticed that either the women's singles winner is winning her very first Grand Slam or her second. When I think about very first, I think about Vondrousova. I think about Rybakina. I think about Kvitova when she first did it in 2011. Sharapova, 2004. There's also a bunch of women who have won their second career title, whether it's not their last or not. They've won their second career title at Wimbledon. Think of Amelie Mauresmo. Think of Simona Halep. Think of Muguruza, Ash Barty, Barbora Krejcikova. Like all those have won their second. And I think that's like, I think that might happen again. One of those two things is going to happen. And I feel like Noskova and Pegula could fall in that category. They never won a Grand Slam of winning their first, Yeah.
I worry a little bit about Pegula only because of last year where I think she got knocked out in the first round by Coach Loretto. So let's get Jessie through the first round.
Let's get it through the first round. And she also says she doesn't really, well, she didn't say she doesn't like UK or London grass, but she says she specifically like German grass. She made it specific in her runner-up speech. She was like, I'm not kidding when I say I love German grass. And I believe her. Maybe there is like a slight difference between the two. So I think she should be in the conversation.
Absolutely.
Just because I think about the fact that Wimbledon has produced some winners that you didn't see coming. Also, I completely forgot. Bartoli won her first at Wimbledon, and she was a player that had knocked on the door before. You know what I mean? It was kind of always around, getting wins here and there over the big players. Top 10-ish. So I don't know. What if we get like a double American flag flying?
Hey, I would love to see Pegula win a slam. I think kind of like that weight that we watched Madison Keys have for so long, to sort of get that, and Jessie's knocked on the door several times, and I'd love to see her win a slam. I'd love to see Anisimova get some redemption from last year as well. So I think
light on matches though.
Yeah, I know she hasn't had. I don't think she's had enough. I think she's been dealing with an injury, if I'm not mistaken.
A wrist injury. She didn't play anything in the clay. I think she retired from or withdrew from one of her warm-ups in grass too. It just hasn't been too hot lately.
Yeah. But I still think there's some American women in the draw. I mean, we could never rule out Coco as well. So, but yeah, I think. Well, I mean, she's I'm not gonna go there. I'm always gonna just say Coco has a shot. She always has a shot. She always has a shot. And
yes, she does. I'm glad you're here, friend. Because if you weren't here, I might have gone down a different path.
Yeah, we just don't know. We just don't know if it's gonna.
We're gonna root for our girl.
Yeah. We just don't know sort of what's gonna happen, what's gonna transpire. There's a little bit of unpredictability there, but she's always got a shot.
She does.
Yeah.
And then to wrap up the Czech storyline, I was just referencing another Czech woman by the name of Marie Bouzkova, who's more of a seasoned WTA veteran, all around nice girl, has picked up her second title of her season in a different surface on grass at that. She beat Emma Navarro 7-6, 4-6, 6-2. She was dealing with a little bit of an injury that she had gotten some medical attention for. I think it was an ankle, but she still pushed through. And if she's healthy and the ankle isn't seriously bothering her, she's somebody that's been to a quarterfinal at Wimbledon, and two, can obviously play on grass. And there's the history there of Czechia and grass court tennis. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, my wife loves Bouzkova, and I like her too, and we watch her matches all the time and are always rooting for her. To your point, she's just she seems to be the nicest person in the world.
Except for that one time in Roland Garros, so I'm not gonna bring it
up. She seems to be the nicest person in the world and whatnot, and so we're always rooting for her when we see her, and so we're super happy that again, to your point, she picked up her second title of the year. I don't see her going super deep at Wimbledon, but still love her game and super happy that she picked up this title. So
she's a likable pusher.
Yeah, she counterpuncher.
I remember when I first got on her radar. I don't think I knew exactly who she was, but she played Serena in Toronto 2019, and something about me. I think it was a semifinal match. I think she was having one of her good breakout runs, and something was she's gonna challenge Serena. I just knew it, and she did.
She's gonna get every ball back. She's
the perfect kind of player, actually. Just do enough, but work me into form. Don't beat my fave, but play a good match, and I appreciate that. Okay, do we want to? We got a couple more minutes here that we can yap for sure. Do you want to give your yaps or thoughts on another Czech woman by the name of Markéta Vondrousova, who we mentioned here, but haven't mentioned the headline, which is that she has now been sentenced to a 4-year suspension from tennis due to her failure to comply to a drug test. And when I say failure to comply, it seems to me from what has been shared that someone from the Drug Association, ITIA affiliated people that administer drug tests, they showed up to her abode, to her address that she was at, and due to not feeling safe, the time of night or morning it was, she did not answer, and she cited her fear and anxiety and her having a generalized anxiety attack because of things that have happened prior to women and from her country, like Petra Kvitova and her incidents. And she just didn't feel safe doing it. And that's what she cited. And the ITIA has come back and said that, they felt like they followed their own protocol and there wasn't sufficient evidence as to why she did not go through with the drug test, and have given her 4 years of a suspension. And it has kind of at least shocked the tennis Twitter universe of it all. And people feeling optically, that seems like a lot. And there's also people who feel like optically, if you are evading tests, then that's just as bad as you failing one, which I don't necessarily 100% agree with that. I do see where you're going, but I just don't necessarily hard fall on yes, not taking one and having a negative one is the same exact thing. I think depending on why one was not taken, that is a nuanced thing. And then also people are giving appeals for when they do test positive. Right. So it's just it's a tricky space, especially again, tennis has kind of found itself in a corner of seeing some big headline news with big Grand Slam champion names that are testing positive or having some kind of dealings with the Drug Association. This comes on the backs of 2024 with Yannick Sinner, Iga Swiatek, who both tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, and now here we are in 2026. Vondrousova has denied a test. It seems as though she was able to get another test several days afterwards, like in a pre-3-4 day window, but apparently that hasn't been enough, and they have put her on a 4-year suspension. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, not too much to add based on what you said. I think the one, the other nuance there too that stands out, depending on, sort of what side of the fence you sort of agree with here, but it's also, it could also be perceived as a preferential treatment, right? So a person who did not test gets a 4-year ban, whereas somebody who did test positive gets 3 months, or a month, a month, right? And so at that point, you got to kind of throw everything out of the window and saying there's too much inconsistency with what the punishments are. And I know there's 3 or 4 different governing bodies around testing. And so it's like, at some point there needs to be sort of one standardized set of rules around what happens when you test positive, what happens if you don't test, what happens if a test is inconclusive. Like, you just slapping a 4-year ban on somebody given the circumstances, and and also too, like, where's the sort of allegiance to the player from any of the the actual organizations that they belong to,
like the WTA, you mean, like kind of attacking them or something?
Like there's got to be something embedded into the process that says, okay, we understand what didn't happen, and sure, maybe there needs to be a punishment for not getting a test administered, but it's not 4 years.
4 years just seems like,
it's just,
I don't know. Especially if it was 4 years across the board, then it wouldn't feel so crazy. But when you're telling me that there have been people in the last 2 years that have tested positive and have combined with those multiple people have not even served a full year of a suspension, you're telling me that not taking one at all is a 4-year flat ban?
Right.
Like, and I don't know if she even has the resources that some of these former players like Yannick Sinner or Iga Swiatek have to afford the representation of appeal, because all of that is legality and stuff like that, and it really kind of weighs on you, which she has alluded to in her Instagram post. I don't have it pulled up here, but she definitely posted some things on Instagram into her story of how all of it has been weighing on her. And speaking of weighing on her, I do want to, like, from a human standpoint, I empathize with the fact that if she was somebody who was dealing with anxiety, whether she was having like an anxiety attack in the moment before it happened or whatever, I can see how someone coming to your home unannounced, especially at night, if you are by yourself and you had no recollection of this happening and they were ringing your doorbell, I can't say that I'd be the number one person to just answer all willy-nilly, people are insane.
I
mean, the world is full of zanies and fools, as Whitney Houston would say.
And we've seen worse happening. So it's just like, at some point, I mean,
if the situation is what she has alleged, that that's what it was. It wasn't scheduled. It was random, and it was somebody, especially if the person was from the opposite sex, which I think I read in the description that they're maintaining that it wasn't, that it's always the same sex. So I think that's what they investigated on, is to find whether that was true or not. And again, some of this is what I'm paraphrasing. I don't have it all laid out in front of me, but all that to say is I empathize with the situation if she felt like she was putting herself in harm's way by answering that. However, I do think, though, that there should be some level of accountability taken for her part. I just think 4 years seems like a lot, especially if you're in the same lens, doing the same thing as other people, and they're actually coming up positive with these things you're testing me for, and they're be able to go play 3 months after they've sat out, or conveniently done it during an off season.
Right.
Or conveniently do it between slams.
Agreed. It's just, like I said, there's got to be some consistency across the board, and again, it if everybody is on the same page about it, the player knows, hey, okay, I'm going to get a 3-month ban for not for not taking the test. Great, that's it, and then you move on. But 4 years just is outrageous.
We'll see what happens. She was never a player outside of maybe some matchups with Coco Gauff that were kind of zesty. She's never been a player that I rooted against. I was rooting for Ons Jabeur in that Wimbledon final.
Sure.
But Marketa's a tricky player. I think she first got on my radar back in 2019. She beat Simona Halep at Indian Wells, and I was there, and I was like, oh, look at this lefty forehand with all this space and spin. So I dug it. Speaking of Simona Halep, she's also somebody that got intertwined into whole doping, long-term sentence, contaminated stuff, all that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the last lead-up tournaments before Wimbledon gets underway. All this week, we have two ATP 250 events and two ATP men's events and a WTA 500 and also a WTA 250. Let's start with the men first. Top seeds at Eastbourne is Taylor Fritz, who doesn't seem to miss that tournament any chance he gets. I'm not sure if he's going to play because he has played the first 2 weeks of the grass court season. He's a 4-time champ, and who knows after 2 finals if he's going to have the legs in him. But he's the number 1 seed as it stands, as we know now. João Fonseca, the Brazilian 19-year-old, doesn't really seem like he's gotten his legs together about grass, but I mean, it's only 3 weeks a year. So we'll see. But he's playing. Thomas Martin Echeverry, another Argentinian I mentioned earlier, I think he's still in there. Cerundolo was going to play, but I'm pretty sure he's pulled out now due to his efforts in Eastbourne. Also, speaking of efforts, Jack Draper is making his efforts back to the court at Eastbourne this week. So it looks like he's already gotten a win in the first round over Marcos Giron, and he's working with Andy Murray now. So I'm sure the Brits are loving that. With like a good old Jack Draper comeback on the grass,
Absolutely. As long as he can stay healthy, man. This guy, he's just been burdened with so many injuries over the last, year or two. It's just been insane. So it's actually good to see him, and good timing to see him back on the court. So hopefully he can stay healthy. And to your point, this should be good news for the Brits come Wimbledon.
I'm partial to lefties and guys with kind of awkward lightning bolt tattoos. I do like Jack Draper's game. I just like I said, I want him to be healthy. I didn't love whatever mix-up there was about his quotes about he'd love to have dinner or something with Donald Trump. Didn't love that, but I'm able to move past it. You see, I'm a forgiving person, and I like his game. I wish him health. I think men's tennis is more of an interesting product when Jack Draper's in the mix. So for right now, get healthy, Jack Draper, and cause some havoc on the grass courts. I mean, why not? Cause some havoc. Cause some havoc. The other 250s in Mallorca, Spain, Luciano Dorderi, who you might remember from Rome semifinalist fame earlier this year. He's the number 1 seed. Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, countryman in Spain, is the number 2 seed, and he's still hunting for his first ATP tour title. Wishing him the best. Another player who I also wanted to mention kind of in the whole South American brigade is Ignacio Buthe of Peru. He's won a ATP 500 this season in Hamburg the week before Roland Garros, and that kind of got overshadowed by how crazy Roland Garros was. But he's been playing good ball. I'm sure grass is still kind of interesting for him to navigate, but he's the 4 seed. And then Nick Kyrgios and Grigor Dimitrov both got wild cards into the event. Kyrgios unfortunately lost already by the time we made this video. I was rooting for him. I'm not trying to make a jab at him.
Yeah. No, I know.
I also think tennis is way better of a product with Nick Kyrgios is healthy and involved in it. So and so is the same for Grigor Dimitrov. So we'll see what happens in both of those tournaments. Any thoughts?
I feel for Fokina. I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him win this title just to get that off his back. I know that he's knocked on the door so many times as well. And so I think this would be a nice little tournament for him to win leading into Wimbledon.
I agree. Go Fokina.
Yeah.
Wishing you luck. On the women's side, Bad Homburg is the WTA 500. This is an interesting event, especially the week before Wimbledon, because we are going to be putting our eyes on some key players, I think, and top seeds going into Wimbledon for the very first time this grass court season. World number 2, 3, I don't know what she is. She's the number 1 seed at this event, Iga Swiatek, and she is defending finalist points from last year, I believe. So this is going to be her first foray onto the grass this season. But we'll see how she looks, especially ahead of the fact that she is defending a Wimbledon championship, and she's never done that before. So we'll see how it goes. The reigning Roland Garros champion is the number 2 seed, Mira Andreeva. I'm interested to see, how she comes to the court, any kind of different swagger, how she adjusts to the grass. Interesting that she's taken as much time off as she has, but I guess she deserves it. You win a slam. 2 weeks off sounds, about right. So, we'll see what happens. Svitolina of Ukraine, the mom on the mission, she's in there. Karolina Muchova, I think this is not her debut of grass on the season because she played Berlin and she played doubles with Serena. She's also in the mix. And Venus Williams, do I want to spoil this? It's whatever. I already know. Venus Williams was in the draw, but she unfortunately lost a heartbreaker to Arina Camelia Begu in the first round. But Venus is out there still competing, and although she's out of the tournament, I still would go put some eyes on Bad Homburg and see who's getting in form for Wimbledon. In the last tournament we're going to prelude, or it is happening now actually, is the Eastbourne WTA 250, headlined by Jasmine Paolini, your fave. I know it. She could definitely be a person that could use some wins here. I don't care how she gets them. I think women's tennis is a better product when I see her smiling and winning. So Jasmine Paolini, wishing you luck. Also in the mix, Jelena Ostapenko, who has won Eastbourne before, has been to a semi of Wimbledon. Watch out. You never know when Ostapenko is going to light her little match. Yeah. Also, Madison Keys has won Eastbourne before. She's somebody that can get on a roll. Do you feel like Madison Keys has underperformed at Wimbledon in her career? I heard another podcast say that, and it gets
maybe if you look at it collectively, but I don't I guess I don't think about it that linearly. I guess I look at I think winning Australia, winning the Australian Open, sort of like. I think for me, it was just like she should win a slam. I don't know or care where it's going to be. So the fact that she won the Australian Open doesn't mean that she's kind of underperformed. I don't know if she's gone as deep at Wimbledon, if that's the nature of your question.
I think her best, I think her best is a quarterfinal. I don't think she's been to more than one.
Yeah.
So I feel like on paper, for someone who I believe has won Eastbourne twice, to have only one or so Wimbledon quarterfinals isn't great.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And, again, I'm not sure where a lot of these players, how they feel. I know that there is some sentiment about how people feel about grass overall.
She likes it, according to her. She likes it.
Okay.
So we'll see. She's somebody you never also can count out, especially if they get on the roll. The only thing is, Madison Keys, you can't win Eastbourne because there's the whole jinx about men's singles winners not actually winning the tournament. If you get to the final, that's great. You can't win the whole thing. That is the Eastbourne WTA 250. Also, make sure to check out the two men's events on your tennis channel feeds or wherever you've watched tennis and you're listening to this or watching this back. My friend Win, say that rhymed. Bam. Any other bits and bops of news or things that have been on your mind that you want to talk about before we get out of here?
I think the only thing, and we touched on Ben Shelton a little bit. I thought the win that he picked up at the Boss Open in Stuttgart was a big deal. I kind of, I'm never quite sure what we're going to get from Ben, only because I feel like he still plays well. I feel like he still plays. He's still going for so much on when he plays, and I love that about the way he plays. But when he dials it in just a taste, then I think really good things can happen. And so would love to just see him maintain that discipline at Wimbledon. I think, and he had a good run there last year as well.
Yeah,
so
quarterfinal.
He had a great run there last year as well. So I think I don't know. Personally, I feel like grass, you have to be a little bit more disciplined, and because it's a tricky surface to move on, the bounces are tricky, and so to be able to stay disciplined, know when to go for your shots. I think with that win last week, again, another guy with some momentum and some confidence. And I'd just love to see him stay disciplined going into Wimbledon. I think he could go deep.
I like the way that sounds. I always love the fact that he brings his own fire, though. But I do agree with what you mean. Like sometimes he can reel it in just a touch and find that happy balance. But I mean, I don't know, man. I have a feeling that we're looking at a wacky Wimbledon, especially on the men's side, because when the lightning strikes the way it's striked in Roland Garros, maybe actually it won't happen because who isn't there a saying that like lightning strikes doesn't strike twice or whatever?
Right.
I don't know, but that is true. But I also do think in like bits and pieces and things happening and momentum starting to happen, because Zverev didn't necessarily go through that tournament and win in a fashion where he like just beat all of his superiors, if that makes sense. The draw spontaneously combusted, and we had a whole bunch of guys getting to their first semifinal, their first quarterfinal, their first Grand Slam final. Those little nuggets of like, oh, I've gone this far at a Grand Slam, why can't I go far at the next one, and so on and so forth. I think that does matriculate throughout the tour. And who knows what happens at Wimbledon, especially when you consider the top 2 seeds. Jannik Sinner is a defending champion, but he's going to come in after a somewhat embarrassing loss at Roland Garros with no grass court matches. Obviously, we know he can play on grass, but there's something to be said for momentum and getting the movement correct. Carlos Alcaraz won't even be there because he's still tending to his wrist. Novak Djokovic, who we all know has a grass court pedigree, whether we like it or not. He can play on grass, but he also had an early loss at Roland Garros and hasn't played any grass court warm-up. So we'll see what happens. And then, the rest of the field, you're left with guys who either haven't been to that many Grand Slam semifinals, haven't been to a final, or just reaching for the best moment of their careers, honestly. And you never know who could be in that mix. And if it happens again where some of the big dogs go out early, you don't know who that Flavio Caboli could be that runs up in a Grand Slam final, or anything.
That Maya Walinska.
Maya Walinska, yeah, absolutely. You never know who it could be.
I think the good news is I know that you like it messy. And so I'm rooting and hoping that it all falls apart at Wimbledon the same way. I give you that, because it did make for a very interesting Roland Garros. It really did. And I wasn't mad that Maya Walinska was in the final. Like, hey, if that's the way the cards fall, that's just the way the cards fall. And that's what makes the game so exciting sometimes.
It gives me a story.
It gives you a story. It makes things a little bit more interesting. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing I like watching more on tennis than Carlos Alcaraz tennis. But hey, you know what? It did make things at Roland Garros a little bit interesting. So I'm hoping that he's back for US Open and would love to see him in New York. But yeah, I mean, I think Wimbledon on both sides could be wide open on both both men's and women's side.
We shall see. You did something there when you said I like it messy, so I'm gonna hope that it's messy again. I'm gonna hope it's messy again, because I do. I like when there's chaos, and you never know who's gonna be the person. I like when there's chaos that doesn't affect my faves. There we go.
There we go.
All right. Speaking of faves, my friend, you're always one of my fave guests on the show. I thank you for rocking with me and coming on whenever I ask.
Of course.
Let people know where they can support LoveGame and engage with you and kind of keep the conversation going from this show if they've enjoyed it.
Check us out on the web at www.lovegametennisclub.com. It's where the blog is. We've got a photography series there called 14 Shots, where we take photos from tournaments and tennis sites around the globe and host them there. So it's a good mix of, again, music, photography, and writing. And then also on Instagram and Threads at LoveGame Tennis Club.
I love to hear it. I love to see it. I like engaging with LoveGame Tennis Club. You guys, too, that are listening to this or watching this. Speaking of watching this, if you are watching this back on YouTube or whatever platform this may end up on, make sure you subscribe and click notification bell. That helps the channel out immensely. It lets me know that you're locked in and tuned in to what we're doing. It makes me want to create more content. If you're listening on a podcast platform, make sure you give this episode a thumbs up, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and just in general, keep the conversation going with me. I'm available on all the same platforms that Win is: Instagram, TikTok sometimes, Facebook, Twitter, Threads. Gotta shout out my Threads community, because Threads is definitely thriving with the Black tennis conversation. I really dig it. So
nice.
Yeah. I dig that. I dig this conversation. I dig talking tennis with you, my guy. And I think that's the wrap. Anything else that you wanted to say before we skedaddle out of here?
No, thanks again. I always enjoy having the conversations with you, Miles, and appreciate you inviting me on the platform, and appreciate everything that you do for the creator community outside the game. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. We will talk soon. And this has been another episode of Tuned Into Tennis. Make sure you tap in across all socials, and I will talk to you guys on the next episode. Take care.